Hey, everybody. Welcome to Half and Half on this lovely Saturday morning. We have a nice wintry, sunny day looking out there. I was watching Scott's class he teaches before this and just looking out at this little red house with a chimney behind us through a window. And I thought, wow, we are really like classic wintry scene. It's nice and all the little trees and the snow. I grew up in Texas, so I didn't see many classic wintry scenes. Yeah, anyway, I just think it's really pretty out here. So I'm glad you could join us out here. Somebody asked a question in the chat about letting people know about this class. Yes, please let your friends know, invite people. It's a free class. We want to just keep sharing stuff with everyone. So subscribing to the channel is great. That's really helpful. And Scott will remind you to do that at the end. There's a little button there. And then also he brought up just putting a review on social media, like just go on Facebook and say, I'm taking this class and it's so great and come take class, which probably just reaches a ton more people than anything else, so that your friends know about it. And then you can do the little like button at the bottom too. Thumbs up. All those things are great. So today we're going to work on balance again. We're going to kind of jump into that stuff a little more. So my thoughts on balance, I think when I start putting together classes for balance, I think about three things: feet, abdominal obliques, and pelvis. And so we're going to maybe talk about all those things, but we're going to start with pelvis because that one seems maybe a little unintuitive to people sometimes. But the pelvis is your center of gravity or your center of mass in a body, about like a lot of your weight is there. And then all your weight is distributed around that. You have about the same amount below and above, right half, left half, front, back, like that center place. So when I think about doing any sort of balancing on one leg, I almost always first think about where my pelvis is, and I want to shift my pelvis to be centered over that one leg. And then the other leg can come up. And I want everything else to follow, right? If I just move my pelvis and I don't move my shoulders, obviously that's a problem. But if I can kind of organize everything using my obliques, all this stuff, and let my pelvis shift over onto one leg and take the balance, I can find it a little more. So when we get to standing, I'm going to talk about that a little more. We're going to start on your back, working to strengthen your abdominals, your low abdominals especially, because that's going to help you organize your pelvis. And then we'll just keep moving through other things. I don't know if I'm going to get through all these things in 30 minutes, but I trust my beloved husband to get through whatever I don't get through, in however he pleases. So lying back on your back, heels in line with your sits bones and knees bent. And let's do just old school. Take your hands on your lower abdominals, down in your pelvis, below your navel, above your pubic bone, just that whole area there, and breathe into your hands. Take an inhale. Feel how your belly rises up. Exhale, let your belly fall off your hands. And lots of things can happen with this very simple practice. One is muscles around your hips can start to let go. As the muscles around your hips start to let go, you start to feel your pelvis a little heavier. You get a little more sense of your pelvis in the mat. And just like a general sense of the weight of your pelvis, which is really useful when I'm thinking about balancing, like let myself actually feel that weight. And for me, as my pelvis gets heavier, then other things start to get heavier too. My shoulders relax, my feet feel a little more grounded. And then the next layer, after I've allowed my hips to let go and felt the weight of my pelvis, now I'm going to turn my abdominals on. I don't want to just tighten my abdominals and add to the tension. I want to let things go and then decide, okay, now I'm going to get my abdominals to come on to help organize and hold this heavy pelvis. So I'm going to add a little bit to my breath, which is to exhale, let the belly fall, and then towards the end of the exhale, starting to feel those muscles tighten. And as they tighten, they drop and spread wide. And that's how I get the deepest layer. I don't want to narrow the abdominals and push them up towards the ceiling. I want to let them continue to drop and then engage and feel a sense of width all around the lower belly. And then just let it go on the inhale. Now, layer 3 to this very simple practice, I'm going to try holding some of that work when I inhale. So instead of totally letting the abdominals relax on the inhale, once I find that tone in the belly on the exhale, I'm going to try to keep it as I inhale. Now, that doesn't mean my belly doesn't move. It moves up a little still. Not as much as when I relax, but it does still move a little up and down. But I don't let the muscles go. They stay taut. And probably I get a little more movement elsewhere, maybe through my ribs or my back. But it's an interesting experiment. We tend to think of turning the light on or turning it off. And there's actually a dimmer switch on all our muscles, right? So I turn them on. They're all the way on at the end of my exhale. And then I can still keep some tone there, even though some breath goes into my belly. So we don't get too locked into one position. Now let's take it into knee folds. So keeping that feeling as you inhale, one leg comes up, exhale, you lower. Other leg comes up, exhale, lowering. Working side to side, playing with all that imagery, all that awareness. And my pelvis is staying really steady because of all of this work. My belly's on, my hips are relaxed, my pelvis is weighted. Now we're going to add a little more difficulty if you want. Right leg comes up on the inhale, hold it there. Exhale, left leg comes up, supporting from your lower abdominals as you exhale. First leg goes down, right leg. Exhale, left leg. Now, same leg that just went down comes back up. Left leg up. Exhale. Right leg comes up. First leg down. Second leg down. Keep going. Inhale. Tone in the belly. Exhale, deepen. Really strong, full work in the belly as the left leg comes up. Last time, starting left. And then a couple breaths, just breathing however you want, let everything go. So we're going to add a little bit to that, taking both hands behind your head, So I have this nice weighted, grounded center of gravity pelvis here. I'm going to add in my mini crunch. So that's going to bring in some of the rib connection on top. That's going to start to fire in the oblique muscles a little differently when I draw the ribs together on top. So exhale, bringing the head up, ribs sink down, looking into your belly. Now we're just going to rotate a little bit. So my left elbow is going to come forward. I'm going to bring my right knee in, and then I'm going to take my leg down and bring my head back to center and lower. So I'm rotating the top. My elbow is going towards my knee, but I'm not necessarily trying to touch my knee, right? Then I'm going to go into, that's just a different thing. It's not going to be quite as organized through here. So we're being very specific towards the knee, but not necessarily touching. So exhale, ribs drop, low belly's on, pelvis is heavy, the head comes up. And then as I rotate around, I just kind of look around the corner, this time right elbow and left knee, and then back together and down. And we'll do it again. I'm going to turn around because you're going to get a better view from the side if I turn around. And exhale, coming up. And left elbow, right knee. They're not that close together. Center and lower. And exhale, coming up. And opposite, right elbow, left knee. One more each side. So we're really starting to get the obliques, but still keeping the pelvis really centered, not tucking or arching. Really still lifted as I turn. And last one. And coming down and rest. And again, just take a couple full breaths. And then take your knees into your chest and bring yourself up to sitting. Okay, so we're going to work up to standing. Come over onto your hands and feet. And little stretch up. I always like to work through the spine a little bit. So unrolling your spine, letting your arms be heavy. Here it is again, that heavy pelvis feeling as I roll up to standing. So if I'm walking around in my life and I tend to keep a lot of tension in my hips, maybe front of the hips and quads, maybe lower back, maybe glutes and hamstrings, sometimes all those muscles could get really tight. We all have kind of different arrangements of what's tight, but I mean, we all do it, right? We know this is all tight. There's a way that I'm kind of holding the pelvis up, right? This image of like holding the pelvis up out of my feet. I don't have great access to sort of my feet controlling my movement. And I also don't have a real sense of like the weight of my pelvis just landing on my thighs. So that's an image I like a lot, that I take the pelvis, right? I let go of some of the hip tension, and then the pelvis actually rests on the hip joint, those ball and socket joints, taking that pelvis, letting it rest here. Now, if I let it rest too much, right, like that's no good either. I get all sorts of disorganization through there. So there's where my low belly comes in. Let some of the tension in the hips go. Find the deep lower belly work. So we've already done that. We did that lying on your back. So it's in there, right? You could just kind of take that image, heavy pelvis, deep work in the low belly. And maybe as you do that, you could start to feel your feet a little better. So we're going to maybe encourage that a little bit. So feet are parallel, toes pointing forward, bend your knees. And I think for most of us, when you bend your knees, you feel your feet a little more. You can feel them spread out, your heels and the balls of your feet, all that stuff. So take that image, you're letting that. Sometimes I do a little like bounce. It's sort of helpful. You know, if you were jumping, when you landed, how you would feel weight. It gives me a little bit of that feeling. And then I think about the pelvis dropping and the lower back relaxing, my feet being really grounded. Belly in, press the feet, but think of leaving the pelvis just hanging down and then bending. Maybe a little bounce. Exhale, belly in, press the feet. Pelvis stays heavy. So we're going to do this one more time. For me, as I do this, I start to feel my legs activate a little differently too. When I get my feet pressing, I get some work in the legs, the hamstrings, kind of my calves. I don't know. I get all sorts of weird things working. Feels nice. Okay, so then let's see if we can use that in the psoas walk. So reaching one leg back a little bit. Toes are still pointing forward, hips are pointing forward. And then, you know, you could bend your knees here a little bit too. Feel your weight a little forward, a little back. What's that like for you? Do you get tightness in your calf? Whatever you get. Same sort of feeling, a little bit of work in the low belly. But now really trying to do it, trying to feel the foot push down. And because the foot pushes down, it moves my pelvis forward. And then feeling the pelvis just kind of glide back and my foot comes down. Not pelvis first, not chest first, foot first, connects up and to my pelvis to come forward. And then lowering back down and pressing. So this is starting my balance, right? Pelvis is centered between 2 feet. I'm going to move it forward so it ends up over 1 foot. If I leave it behind me, it's going to be hard to balance. It's just too much to organize. So next time we're going to add a little to that, pressing forward. Pelvis is over the left foot now, or the front foot. And then just test a little more. Draw the back leg in. Keep a little work in the belly, however high you want to take it into the balance. Reach it back. Find the foot first. Now it's there. Pelvis comes back and I'm centered. So we'll play with that a little bit. Pushing forward. Pelvis centered over the front foot. Maybe you just come in a little bit and you keep the toe down. It's great. Get the foot back there before you shift back. And that supports the weight. And pressing. And little balance. And reach back. Work the foot. Set it down. 2 more. Pressing. And up. And reaching. And back. I'm feeling a little bit of ribs too. Drawing in. And back. Other foot. Little distance to start. Pelvis forward. Bend both knees. Do a little front to back feeling. Both feet are solid. Pelvis is just dropping down onto the thigh bones. And then abdominals come on. Pressing the back foot. Foot pushes down. That work goes up into your pelvis to push it forward. Centering over the front leg. Pelvis comes back. Back foot supports it. Pushing forward and back a few times. Now you might feel some of the other muscles coming on, right? Like I feel my glute just the tiniest bit coming on. That's okay. It's connected to my belly. It's coming on functionally. And my pelvis is still heavy. Coming forward, center the weight over the front foot. Try a little more balance. Bring the foot in. You can leave the toe down if that's better, or you can try taking it up. Before you take your weight back, reach your leg back behind you. Then the pelvis centers between the 2 feet. So a couple of those. And as I push to my front foot, I think of my front foot really solid, really taking the weight. One more. And then turning back to the front. Okay, how was that? Maybe good? Maybe starting to get that feeling? So, foot, pelvis, abdominals. Now, I also mentioned obliques, right? So, obliques are your side, kind of your side body muscles. They work in twisting, they work in bending side to side, but they also work as stabilizers. So, especially when I shift my weight to one foot, those muscles have to come on to organize me, hold me together. And I mentioned before, like if just my shoulders go over and my hip doesn't go, my pelvis doesn't go, that's kind of a problem. Or if my pelvis goes and my shoulders don't come, that's a problem. And that's, what we do a lot when we're trying to figure out balance. And then sometimes maybe you even do this. I see people do a lot with their arms. But if you do your obliques, right, it's kind of the same thing, right? Your arms are acting as a level when you're off balance sometimes. But if you can do it from your obliques, it's organizing that same thing, but it's doing it more from the foundational place, from the kind of fundamental place. So I'm going to keep those obliques on so that as my pelvis moves, my ribs move, my shoulder moves, everything moves, and I'm a little more organized through that way. And I don't have to worry so much about this kind of tipping and taking me off. So, ribs together, belly in, bend your knees, shift your weight over to your right, and coming up. Coming back to both feet, pelvis in the center, shift the weight over to the left, just a little bit of that oblique work as the other leg comes up and down. And you can do this again. You could just do, if your balance is, then maybe you just go to your toe. You're still working it. And up. Now you could add the opposite arm. Sometimes that's actually really helpful. Just gives you a sense of that side body a little more. And pelvis over both. Shifts over to the left. Pelvis over both. And reach up. And down. And up. And one more time. And then back to both feet. Let's do a little roll down through your spine. Bend your knees. Relaxing down. And then bend your knees. And rolling up. Okay, so we're going to try one more little balance exercise. And this one's, I think, a little bit harder for some of us. So if you want some help, go to a wall, go to a counter, and whatever leg you're standing on, hold that side to give you a little bit of help. So on the mat, all the time in Pilates, we do these leg circles, right? Keeping your pelvis still and circling the leg around. And really, one of the ideas of that is that I could stand on one leg and circle my leg around, right? So we're going to play with that a little bit. So bending both knees, shifting your weight over. Now, all the time we say leave the pelvis still, find the belly, find the ribs, all the obliques, all that stuff. Bring your leg out in front of you, left leg out in front of you. You can put your hands on your hips or you have your hand holding onto something. And then just kind of play. Now, if you're not sure, you could kind of trace the foot on the floor. If you feel okay with it, see what happens when you take the leg off the floor and it goes out to the side. Bring it back to the front. Bring it out to the side. Bring it back to the front. Do 2 more. So a little bit of adjusting as you go, right? Maybe you even feel it in your pelvis a little bit. Bring it back in. Let's try the other side. Bending, belly, pelvis, coming up. Reach out in front. Maybe you do a little trace. Maybe that's how you start it. That's also working your balance. If you feel okay, take it up. Two more. Bring it back down and rest. Okay, so we'll try again. And this time we'll try all the way to the back if you want. If you want to just do straight to the side, going to the back is harder. And it's harder because all sorts of things have to displace, right? Because my leg is behind me, I have to displace my pelvis a little forward. When my leg comes in front, my pelvis comes a little back, right? We're just like this differentiation of weight. So as I go to the back, I get to the side, and I just feel a little bit of shift forward to go all the way to the back. My chest is slightly in front of my pelvis here, but my abdominals are really holding me. I still have a sense of my pelvis over my leg. And then I come more straight up and down, right? So it's a little trickier, but it's fun. Reaching around and reaching forward. 2 more. You can put your hands behind your head if you want. That'd be another way to do it. Stepping back together. We'll do the other side. Face this way this time. So coming up, find your hand position, leg out in front of you, and then playing. As the leg goes behind me, I have to get a little taller, draw the belly in a little bit. I do come a little forward with my chest. Goes to the side. My chest gets back over me, over my pelvis. Two more. And then coming back together and rest. I mean, it's kind of cool too, because all these like kind of different muscles in your hips start to come on. You still feel this, it's just fun to explore. It's fun for me. I hope it is fun for you as well. Take your feet a little open and let's do just straight down and up, bending your knees, let things release, press back up. So again, this heavy pelvis drops down, your feet support it, bend, press the feet, coming back up, and exhale. Let your feet bring you up. And 2 more. And last one. And back up. Okay, people. Let's see what the tall one has to say. He's standing over there, ready to go.
In the wings, as it were. So let's immediately pick up where you left off and begin with your feet wide apart. A little bit turned out like you did before. And then with the out breath, bend your ankles, your hips, and your knees. And let's pause here for a bit. Letting your toes relax into the floor. And the same with the balls of your feet. Then ever so slightly press the front of your foot down, balls of your feet and your toes, to start to hover your heels, not necessarily lifting them, but ever so slightly lightening them. And then use the full width of your forefoot to support your balance. A few more breaths here. And then slowly bring your heels down. And just like you did previously, press your feet down to come up. And then bring your feet together. So now let's make our way to the floor. So begin with an inhale to open your upper back. Now with the exhale, lift your arms up to open your upper chest. Inhale, folding. With the out breath, reach the crown of your head forward. And then with the in breath, step your feet back. We'll take a few breaths here. You may be wondering, how does this work with balance? And head down dog, really little, if at all, does it directly address balance. So one more breath cycle. And now with the next exhale, step your feet back forward, culminating with the crown of your head reaching forward. Inhale, folding. Exhale, rising all the way up. Inhale, arms down. So now let's return to that direct work with the balance. So start like you did before, stepping from one foot to the other foot. Remember that discussion, center of gravity. So often as we move, as we go about our day, we sort of are centered right here in our head. So part of balance is this invitation to return to your body to embody. Now, if you'd like more challenge, you could step your feet wider apart. Wider apart. And then part of the work on balance is to step and pause. Step and pause. As you can probably see, I have a little bit of a wobble. That's pretty normal. Nothing to be too concerned about. It's actually your body is looking for its location in space. So the wobble prevents you from falling. So the wobble's a good thing. Step, pause. Step, pause. Step, pause. Let's do one more. Step, pause. And back in toward the middle. Let's head to the floor again. Begin with the inhale. Exhale, arms up. Inhale, folding. Exhale, gorilla. Inhale, stepping back. 3 deep breaths here. And then come down to your knees. So a little bit earlier, you talked about the locus of control. And I mentioned a few moments ago, not from our head, but from the vital core of the body. So now let's take that into an exploration in dog pose. And if your surface is kind of slippery, you may want to sit this one out. But you can probably see I'm using a yoga mat that provides a little bit of traction. So placing your hands on something that hopefully has pretty good traction. Then moving into head down dog. And then taking your lower belly and moving it toward the space behind you. And then up to the ceiling. Then see if you can keep that strength in your core. See if you can keep that steadiness, stability of your pelvis as you lift one leg up. A few breaths here. Bring it down. Pelvis stays steady and stable. Take your other leg up. Bring it down. Now, only if you have a really steady, non-skid surface, you could explore lifting one hand up, bring it down, lifting the other hand up, bring it down. 2 deep breaths here, head down dog. Exhale, gorilla. Inhale, folding. Exhale all the way up. Inhale, arms down. So let's work a little bit more in the coronal plane. Step your feet wide apart. Turn your left foot in and then your right foot out. Let's do some mobilization. With the exhale, bend your ankle, your hip, and your knee. And then with the inhale, straighten. Exhale. Inhale. 2 more. Next time, knee in the bent position, pausing there. Now remember a little bit earlier that discussion, shifting the center of gravity from your head down to your center of gravity. Then initiating the movement from your center of gravity, tip your hips, let your spine, neck, and head fall, ending up with elbow on knee, hand on your hip. 3 deep breaths here. And then with the inhale, come up. And then turning back to the front. Now the second side, turn your right foot in, your left foot out, matching movement to breath. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. Couple more. The next time, knee in the bent position, pausing there. Stay here for an inhale. Then with the exhale, move from your center of gravity. Let your head fall. Bring elbow to knee, hand on your hip. Fresh air filling your lungs. Stale air exiting your lungs. Fill. Empty. Fill. Empty. Follow your next inhale up. Turn back to the front. And then stepping your feet together. So it's like Collette shared with you a little bit earlier, to more directly feel your feet, a little bit of a knee bend. Take a moment to feel your toes on the floor. Explore the possibility of feeling all 10 toes individually touching the floor. Then the balls of your feet. Remember a little bit earlier we talked about the whole width of the ball of your foot from big toe to little toe on your right foot and on your left foot. Then take your forefoot. What is the plural of forefoot? 4 foots? Take your 2 forefeet and press them down to slightly hover your heels. Feel how that engages your belly? Then very similar to what you did earlier, now reach your heels out of your belly to descend your heels. And then take both feet, all your feet, press them down to lift up. So tone in your lower belly provides a lift of your spine, chest, and head. All the while your pelvic bowl rests upon the columns that are your legs. Divert the inhale into your back. Exhale, arms to the side up. Inhale, folding. Exhale, gorilla. Inhale, stepping your feet. Head down dog, 3 deep breaths. And then coming down to your knees, and then onto your back. So once you're on your back, knees bent, feet flat upon the floor. Then lightly draw your shoulders under. This is really easily overdone. Just a hint of that. Then once you have your sense that your chest is a little bit open, then rotate your arms inwardly to bring your palms on the floor. And maintaining that openness of your chest, inner spiral of your arms, as you then lightly press your lower back into the floor, and then sustain that posterior pelvic tilt as you lift your hips up. So shoulder bridge if you're doing Pilates, and just bridge if you're practicing yoga. So now make note of where your pelvis is. And then see if you can keep your pelvis steady where it is as you take one leg up off the floor, reach it up to the ceiling. Pause here for a few breaths. Slowly bring that foot down. Gauge where your pelvis is. Then take the other leg up. Pause here for a few breaths. And then bring that foot down. Deep inhale here. Here's a chance to mobilize your spine. Exhale, lower your spine down, segment by segment, piece by piece coming down. So now that your pelvis is on the floor, making mental note how your torso contacts the floor. Did a little bit of work earlier about letting your pelvis drop and rest fully into the floor. So see if you can keep that sense as you reach your left leg out. As you take your right leg up, soft bend in the knee. So to start by making little movements going out to the side and then back in. So take your up leg, right leg, a little bit out to the right. See if you can keep your torso steady and stable. And then come back up to the starting point. Now let's add breath. Exhale out. Inhale in. A few more like that. So if you're finding that your pelvis stays heavy, torso isn't tipping to the side, you could increase the range of motion. So we're starting just by going to the side. Last one. And then lowering that right leg down, switching legs. Take now your left leg up. Soft bend in the knee, foot pointed and plantar flexion. So making note where your shoulders are, arms are, pelvis, rest of your torso. And see if you can keep all that unmoving as you go a little bit out to the side to the left and back up. A little bit out to the side, to the left, and back up. And you can incrementally challenge your range of motion. Exhale out. Inhale in. 2 more. Last one. Now, those of you who have done a lot of yoga, what we're doing is we're putting the pieces in place to look at a very common yoga pose here. Maybe you've already guessing which one that is. So let's go back to knees bent, feet flat upon the floor. Take stock. Pelvis, lower torso, upper torso, shoulders, head, arms, how they contact the floor. And then see if you can keep that steady and stable as you outstretch your left leg. Can you keep that steady and stable as you take your right leg up? Soft bend, foot, plantar flexed. Now we're going to change it up a bit. Take your right hand, catch behind your knee. Take your left arm straight out toward the side. And then just like we did before, the primary focus is keeping your torso steady and stable as you take that right leg out to the right. And then once you get to that point where you're just starting to lose your midline stability, we're going to pause there for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on back up. Lower that leg down. And then taking your left leg up. So you can probably see I brought both my arms in, kind of like hitting the reset button. So I can feel pelvis, lower torso, upper torso, shoulders, head. Okay, keeping that steady midline. Left hand catches behind knee. Right arm like an outrigger to the side. And then slowly, slowly taking your leg out. And once you get to that tipping point, literally the tipping point, steady breathing. And then coming back up, lowering that leg down, making your way up to hands and knees. And then from hands and knees to head down dog. Few breaths here. Exhale, gorilla. Inhale, folding. And then plant your feet to roll up. All right. So now we're going to work a little bit more directly with balance. Same ideas. So tempting to try and balance from your head, balance from your center. So to begin, take your right foot and step it back a good distance. And end up with that back foot with the heel lifted. So let's do a few high lunges to open up the front of your right hip. Exhale, bending your front knee. Inhale, straighten. Now, as we go up and down, if you were part of mindful cardio class right before this one, we did a similar lunge where the back knee was bending. So this technique here, a little bit different. We're keeping the back knee straight to help open the front of the hip. The next time that front knee in the bent position, pausing there. Now tipping from your hips. until your torso is more or less in line with your back leg. So you end up looking more or less down at the floor. Then shoulders a little bit back. Reach your arms back, palms face up toward the ceiling. And we're going to hold here for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your hands back and step that back foot forward, back to starting point. Good things happen in pairs. Now let's take your left leg and step at a goodly distance back. Both feet pointing forward, back heel a little bit lifted. Then with the exhale, bend your right knee. Inhale, straightening. Exhale. Inhale. Couple more. So to help open up the front of that left hip, torso vertical. Now from your hips, bend to bring your torso into the diagonal. Not all the way forward, not all the way in the vertical. Split the difference. Then lightly draw your shoulders back. Then reach your arms back. Steady breathing, holding here for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then stepping forward, letting your arms hang. A couple deep breaths here. All right. So now if you'd like, we'll add another layer to this. So for all of us, take your right foot, step it way back, just like we did before. Torso in the vertical, straight up and down. Bend your front knee. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little bit of tug in the front of my hip. So now, bend in your hips, bring your torso to the diagonal. Reach your arms back. So for a lot of us, this is a great place to work a second time. If you'd like more challenge, you could shift more weight to your front foot until your back leg floats up. And either one, we're going to hold here for a few moments. Rejoin each other. And stepping the back foot forward. Second side, take your left foot back, way back. Torso straight up and down, vertical. Exhale, bending. So going from straight up and down to inclined about halfway forward. Shoulders back as you reach your arms back. This is a good place to work. Or if you'd like more challenge, shifting weight from the back foot to the front foot. And then if you were balancing, bring the back foot down. And then stepping your back foot forward. So letting your weight drop into your feet. A little knee bend can facilitate that. Imagine if your mind was in your feet. How would the world look if you were processing the world not from your head or even your torso, but from your rootedness? Let's take a few more deep breaths here. And now making your way to sitting. So you could be sitting on a chair or a cushion or the floor. And now your sitting bones are your roots. And that's true whether you're sitting on a chair or a cushion or the floor. So tempting to try and change posture from the symptom. So if your head is forward, root downward. If your shoulders are rounded forward, root downward. That's been a lot of focus so far. So to conclude here, rest your mind. Let go of the focus on any certain thing or technique. And then whatever thoughts pop into your mind, let them be. Not even the effort to push them away. Rest your mind. Neither focusing on anything, nor pushing anything away. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. If you like what we do here, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that little thumbs up button to like a video. And there's also comments a little bit further below that little thumbs up. Comments are always welcome, in addition to the chat. And if you'd like even more of this, this is one class of 21 classes every week that we offer at Pilates on Harrison. And so our monthly subscription is a very cost-effective way to avail yourself of Pilates and yoga and mindful cardio, movement lab, bar. We have a wide variety of classes for one low price each month. So please check out pilatesonharrison.com or scottandersonyoga.com or reach out to us individually if you'd like more information. So any comments, questions in the chat? Looks like it's quiet. Thanks so much for joining the two of us today, and let's do this again next week.